Hi everyone. Firstly, just to let you know who I am, because not everybody will know who I am. I'm Andy Henderson. I was a playing member of Kirkcaldy Rugby Club many moons ago. In fact, I made my first team debut in 1982 against Broughton. And I guess it's been really nice to be asked to do this by Corgi, so thanks for the invite, mate. But having played over 3 decades in the 80s, the 90s and into 2000, I didn't find this very easy at all. We've gone through a huge amount of players, and yeah, Kirkcaldy's greatest 15, how do you define that? Is that just in how you play? Is that in the service that you gave to the club? Is it the amount of tries you scored, the amount of points you scored? I didn't really know. Anyway, it'll probably be a combination of all, I think, in terms of what I've made my mind up on for this week's. So I thought I'd put my Zingari top on, because that's about the only team I can play for now, the old boys team. So hi to all the Zingari guys. So where am I going to start? Well, start at the beginning, I guess. As a youngster, I think the thing you look for from the older players, especially those in the first 15, is, you know, who are the guys that inspired you as a young player? And my memory, obviously, is that's a long time ago. I don't have the same memory as John Medvin, so that's always quite hard. But guys that inspired me, boys that I used to watch, some were on the kind of periphery just as I started to play, because it's that long ago. But yeah, your Dave Sellers, your Brian Dykes, Brian Mitchell. I can remember as a really young guy sitting watching the first playing, and the thing that really caught me about Brian Mitchell was just the size of his hands. He had massive hands. The ball looked so small in them. In my own position, there would be guys like Fred Beattie, quality player, lots of skill, bit of a pretty boy, loved himself, but a great guy, and a very skillful player. Dave Osborne, you know, if you wanted somebody to join in a fight, even if he was 50 metres away, Dave always managed to get there. So he kind of inspired me in lots of ways. Brian Thompson was another guy I remember in those days, a little back rower, real forager, busy guy. Trying to remember the other guys. I mean, I remember guys, there was a big guy, big second row boy, Steedman, I think his name was. He was an enormous guy, massive guy. Jake Navarrete was probably one of the biggest humans I'd seen. And in the backs, you had lots of guys like Kenny Mottram, Ian Donaldson. There was a guy, Bernie Hudson, used to play, who's a Newcastle lad, I think, northern guy. And he used to run at guys full tilt and tackle them like this, just massive collisions. Great to watch. An old teacher, Martin Pickering, I remember he played for the Ones, really skillful, built like a clipshear, but very skillful guy. You know, Steve McKenzie, Dave Foster, Ian Donaldson, he was always interesting to watch. He had a great discipline with his temperament, maybe not. And these guys all kind of put together bits that really kind of inspired you yourself to go and be a senior player. So I guess we'll start with the forwards. And yeah, I mentioned some names there. But again, this will be who I played with the majority of the time that I remember, the experiences I had, how they made me feel on the pitch, the stories that we basically created together. I think they're important in clubs. So I think the one bit, and I can't remember, John Medlin will probably put everybody right on this. I can't remember if this was in 2 separate games or the actual same game, but it was one thing that's sitting in my head for some reason. But Dave Seller, the type of player he was, he started off probably in the front row that day, and by the end of the game he was playing standoff. Now that might not even have been the firsts, but even that contrast of positions just gives you the kind of idea of what he was like as a player. We had other guys, Wally Anderson, obviously. Wally was there a long time with me through that. Again, a product of when Kirkcaldy came from pretty slim beginnings, and then the kind of youth policy kicked in later on in the 80s, and then we became a bit of a side to be reckoned with. Stuarty Porter, gee whiz, Stuarty Porter. I'd remember, and I wasn't one that liked the cold. Jimmy Bonner will confirm that. I can remember on the coldest training nights ever, Stuarty Porter would appear with a t-shirt, a pair of shorts, his boots, and he'd just clap his hands together and rub his hands, and that was enough to get him warm before he went out into the elements. I'd have about 10 layers on. But a great player, really fast for a front rower, good hands, and would have done really well, I think, if he had been around longer in the senior rugby. Hookers, Doug Wiley. Yeah, Doug. Gee whiz, you always heard Dougie before you saw him. But again, hard and fast. He wanted to win, and he's a real competitor. Stuarty Brown. Stuarty, yeah, he went probably the majority of, I guess, the games I played at Kirkcaldy. Unlike Dougie, was a great technician in his position and throwing and hooking. Very fit player. Again, like Dougie, physical. Played a lot. Played a lot of district rugby as well, as did Dougie. But there was other guys that I remember. Andy Black, again, gee whiz, for a hooker, had fantastic speed. Some of his technical stuff, maybe not up there with the best of them, but was still a very, very good player. Colin Fullingham, Coco, I mean, gee whiz, he was just built to be a hooker. And then going right back to other teams that I probably grew up in, Graham Christie, what a fabulous player Graham could have been. You know, we didn't get maybe the longevity out of Graham in terms of that, but what a great player as a youngster, and really, you know, one of the hardest guys to tackle. And he had good technical ability from there. Tight heads. Yeah, I suppose the first names that come to your mind are kind of Danny Harrington. Brian Dyke was even there and came back as a coach for a short period of time. Rab McCormick obviously came through the Colts system into the senior system, and again, a great servant. And Rab definitely deserves a kind of mention to be in there. One other that kind of slipped through the net as well, and I think I've got a brace of watches, Scott Guyan, or Guyan as we used to call him. Played Scotland under 18, a great prospect, and just couldn't get him to make that kind of transfer into the senior teams. And every time I used to meet him, because he didn't live too far from me, I would try and get him to come to training. And he started this little tradition of giving me his watch off his wrist and saying, "There's my watch, and there's the guarantee I'll be training." And as I said, I've got a collection of Scott's watches, unfortunately. So out of all them, I suppose I've got to make my kind of definitive on what that front row would be. And again, it's going to be based on lots of things, mostly around who I played with, the guys I took the field with, the service they gave to the club. So I guess for me, I'm going to go, and it's really hard, and I hate doing this because they all deserve to be there. But Willie Anderson on the loose head. Hooker is such a difficult throw up there, but probably went through more with me. Stuarty Brown, and that tight head position. Yeah, I guess Danny was the one that really shored us up in terms of that. So they're the three there I would go with from that. Second rows. My goodness. You know, you get to know your forwards a bit better and you remember them a bit better because that was your bunch, that was your group that you trained with and you went through matches with. So, gee whiz, Mark Higginson, all the way through from school into the Colts, into senior rugby. He was there for a guy that smoked in the shower, had this natural fitness, great athlete at school as well. Was a good 800-metre runner. Could go all day in the field, great hands, played a bit of basketball at school as well, that probably helped. Could get through gaps, and was that kind of stereotypical front jumper in his day. Paul Eddington, PC Plod, gee whiz. How many times did he end up falling asleep in the club and walk into Methil for his shift? What a great guy, though, and 100%er. Other guys around a little bit later, Tim Sullivan, gentleman Tim, great boy, good, solid rugby player, a fantastic person as well. So, you know, he was in my thoughts. But Jason Syme, Jason went on to captain the club. Again, we probably could have gotten more out of Jason. But he gave us something in his time at the club when he was there. Sparky Thompson, Mark Thompson, that posh farmer, schooled at Dollar. He had lots of things, you know, that you wanted in a rugby player. Horrible, bony, strong type that even in training, you didn't want to tackle because you knew you were going to get hurt. But Sparky again was one of those front jumpers, guaranteed you kind of ball there. Kenny Fraser, the kind of Newborough politician. Kenny brought different things. He brought that kind of leaper in the middle. Fit guy around the field. Good hands. Great nudge on him as well. Conversions and had a bit of a peg if he wanted to put a big one down there. Big Alan Nisbet, you know, as a young man came in. Again, more that kind of athletic type second row. And he added a little bit to a line out, definitely. Dougie Stewart, gee whiz, what a tourist Dougie was in Russia. He got bitten or something, I think, on his arm, and the thing looked like one of Women Bluto's arms, and that was him. He spent the rest of the tour just drinking the really awful brandy and beer. But yeah, what a guy. My own brother, Davy Henderson. Yeah, Davy from the bench a lot of the times, but had a few starts and gave some great service to the club and stayed involved in the club and coached after it. So again, you know, that's what shows people as great players as well, I think, the fact that they gave back. So lots of guys in there to try and choose from, and probably some more that I've missed. So out of that, I think, though, kind of service-wise, I've just known him all my life and played with him through school and Colts and into senior rugby. I'm going to go with Mark Higginson. So Higgy, you get my vote there. And I guess to maybe balance it out in terms of what both the second rows give us, really hard one, but I think big Nizzy, big Alan Nisbet. If we'd had more of him, I think he would have turned out to be a really class act. And I know he's still a big fit lad, so I would go with Nizzy there. So onto the back row, which is clearly where I kind of started my career, and yeah, ended up filling up lots of different things in terms of covering second row, which I didn't mind. Jumping in the line out wasn't something that I was particularly bad at, so I knew I could get a return there if I needed. Didn't mind pushing in the boiler house when it came to it. I always remember a 13-man scrum, a 7-man scrum at Peebles. I can't remember who got sent off, and I had to go in behind Danny. But yeah, just the encouragement all the time from Danny, just to give him that bit extra, just so we could hold our own. So I didn't mind being in there. But lots of back row boys there. The ones that came to mind, sort of, that were memorable in the way that they played. Colin Mason, big policeman who managed to get down to the club. What a phenomenal rugby player he was. Loved playing with him. We didn't get an awful lot out of Colin. He had a couple of solid seasons, and then usual sort of thing, life changed, marriage, kids, all the usual stuff that kind of drag us away. But yeah, he was an incredible guy to play with. Loved playing with him. Stuarty Hannah, spent a long time playing with Stuarty. Stuarty came from Dunfermline, and loved playing with Stuart. You know, he was an all-action kind of guy, really dedicated to what he did, and yeah, he spent a long time in the firsts across the seasons. And as I said, it just gets difficult, I suppose, because having played 80s, 90s, and the new millennium, there's just too many guys here. Because the next guy on the list there, Gordy Hannah, my old mucker. Again, a Colt, came through from the Colt system that had just gathered momentum from, I guess, that first group that we were in kind of 1981, 82. What a player. Just for a guy his size, phenomenal speed, great hands, hardy, grizzly kind of edge, you know, which was a kind of family trait. From probably known his dad and one of his brothers anyway. I didn't know the older brother that well. But yeah, loved playing with Gordon, fantastic sevens player. And, you know, I guess he was one that was looking for something else. And season 94, I reckon it was, Gordy left and headed off to pastures new and went to Watson's, where he enjoyed some great rugby. And, you know, if he thought that was the right thing for him at that time, he went with our blessing, and he achieved some great stuff. But he was a great guy to play with. So Gordy was there. Latterly, kind of another name that came in there, Jamie Syme, who was the brother of Jason. Jamie was a young kid who came to the club. I think I'd coached him actually at some point in a kind of job, probably through my DO job with Scottish Rugby. I always remember he said something to me. We'd obviously had a scrum maybe about 20 metres in from the right on our own 22, and it was our ball, and the ball came back, and he said, I couldn't believe it. He said, you picked the ball up and went on the blind side. He goes, why did you do that? I said, well, because the winger was lying really deep. I just backed myself to go. And he said that just made it for him. You know, he wanted to play in the back row. He wanted to be like that. And again, from me watching other players, that little things that inspired you, it's great to think that you had an influence on maybe another kid growing up. But Jamie became a fantastic player. He again moved on to Heriots, had a great career at Heriots as well, and became a mainstay there. And, you know, a big friendship we had with Jamie. And you know, continues to kind of this day, and he'll be in the reckoning come the end. Sevens, yeah, I'm going to leave myself out. I'm not going to look at myself, and that's up to other people to decide if I was better. But the first one I want to kind of mention, Keensy, Callum Mackenzie. Callum was taken away early with his career in the Navy. But if that hadn't happened, if he had been a home-based guy, he would have been sitting beside me with all the kind of other honours in terms of playing for the club. Which again, you know, and I had a couple of notes here. I think it was played my first game in 82 against Broughton. That was my first appearance, and then I clocked up 100 against Peebles in 92. And then 200 against Hoyk in January 2001. But if there was one guy that was probably going to be beside me on that, it would have been Callum. Horrible person to play against. Typical seven, in your face, on the ground, he was outstanding. Great speed, tough little bugger, right? Not a big guy, but tough as old boots. And again, he was a guy that came back to the club and gave a huge amount of service in many ways. So Callum definitely in my thoughts there. Another guy that came down from the Howe, Craig Douglas, old Zimmer. He was great to play with. Great tactical awareness. Spoke very well in terms of motivating the team. He was a great guy to go to if you needed some advice, if you were the captain or just a player. just to bring things together. He had a great head on him and a great player. And yeah, that's the kind of sevens that I've kind of got there. And for me, who else did I have down there? I think that was all the sevens. Yeah, that was the only guys that really kind of inspired me. Big Stuart Price was in there, but he was more a six. Didn't play a huge amount with Stuart. Big Kiwi who, just loved the game like most New Zealanders do, and a fantastic guy. And he could play probably either side. And he was a big physical player. But that number 7 jersey I'm going to give to Callum. For lots of reasons, and he deserves them for that. Number 8, not an easy one. This is a difficult one, this one. Lots of guys we had in there. From my first instance of seeing what 8s kind of could do as a youngster. Latterly, there was big guys that impressed me, like Craig Wilson. What a player he was. But again, he wasn't a player I played with, so I didn't know what it was like or what it felt like to play with him. But Owen Cameron was a great player, came again from Glenrothes down to the club and enjoyed a few seasons with us. And he was a real nice guy, worked his backside off to get fit and strong. And he really changed his shape to be able to play up the club or up the leagues as it was when we were progressing. But a good player, fireman as well, so he was good. But I guess the one that kind of always comes to mind playing with him was Craig McDonald, judo. Again, a product of the club, and just very good to play with. Big man, young man, as it was when he stopped playing. He had all the kind of attributes that you wanted in an 8. He could pick up, he was physical, he was difficult to tackle, he had good hands, he could tackle himself, he was great around the field, he could get into spaces and get other guys to work off him. So I guess, for me, Polo Judo, again, a guy that we lost far too early to the game, and it would have been great if he had continued playing. And I think another guy that would have gone on to play an awful lot more matches, league matches for the club. Obviously played at national level for age grade and stuff, and went on to play for Northern Midlands. So it would have been good to have seen more from him. However, that's the forwards. For guys that I've forgotten or not put in there, I do apologise, because every single one of the players that ever played for the club, not just for the firsts, are important. You are the ones who have created the stories, who have kept the club and placed the club where it is now, which is a great place. I read so much about it. Social media is great. We didn't have that back in our day, but you see the amount of work that the club does community-wise and how it connects. It shows you how great a club it's become. So, well done on that. Keep that going. Number 9, gee whiz, there are a whole host here for me. I guess starting out, Robbie Cuthbert, because he was the guy back in the day. I remember even before that, though, some will remember, John Medlin will clearly remember because he remembers everything. Nicky Watt. I remember watching Nicky Watt play for the firsts when he was 15 or 16 years old. Unbelievable. Great talent. But after school, never made the jump to the club properly in terms of playing for the club. And I can't remember if that was work that took him away or he just didn't play. But he was a tremendous talent. Good friend he was in our friends group. He was a year older than me, but what a fantastic player he was. Lots of guys in their mentions have talked about Richard Bethune and Ben Toon. He again came from down south, was at uni, ended up at the club. Great guy. Some kind of detailed him as being a noisy kind of guy. That's not my memory. He was a bit quiet, I think, for a 9 for my liking. Whereas guys like Cuzzy was on your case, he would tell you straight. But Richard, yeah, bang, two howitzer passes left and right, a great break, physical, quick. Maybe didn't have the greatest kicking game, but in those days we didn't really kick a lot probably. But yeah, definitely one that's going to be in contention. Other guys though, Mike Mitchell, just one of the Mitchell brothers that played. Obviously Ross played for the first as well, and Stevie, who was the Bairn at that time, went on to play for the firsts, and potentially maybe still does. Who else did I have there? Matty Carruthers. Anybody remember him? That wee Australian boy that appeared. I think it was round about the millennium, because I remember him being out with us at the town centre. So I think it was season 99 he appeared at the club. He was just this young boy from a wee place in Australia called Gympie. And I've stayed friends with him till to this day. He's down south in London, teaches in a kind of preparatory environment for places like Eton and all the posh schools down there. Married his childhood sweetheart, so they now have a young boy. But yeah, he was an interesting guy and loved the club, and always asked about the club. Phil Simpson, remember Philip Simpson? I remember organising a fundraising night to help him raise funds for him to go to Australia with Scottish schools. And they went over there and they were unbeaten, which was a massive thing in those days for any Scottish rep side to go to Australia and come back unbeaten. Or that's certainly what is in my memory at that time. Phil Gordy left kind of season 94, and that might have been due to uni and stuff like that, because Phil's now a very successful surgeon in Edinburgh, and played at Edinburgh Accies, and played a long time for them at 9. Again, strong player, great pass of the ball. Maybe didn't have that electric break that Richard Bethune had, but had all the other attributes that you wanted in a 9. So I guess, yeah, out of all those ones that kind of come to mind, I better mention Sammy Wilson, because he'll have a go at me. I'll never hear the end of it. Sammy, you were definitely in my mind, mate. It was just I didn't play an awful lot with you, but you do get a mention later on, mate. So, but Sammy, if you wanted a gobby 9, that was a gobby 9. Exactly what forwards need. All those flipping corned beef forwards who can't hear kind of cauliflower ears and stuff. You could hear Sammy, and he was another guy. So out of that, who am I going to go for? Well, you know what? I'm going to go with my heart rather than my head. And the guy that could get through a gap, or if we were, and I even spoke about this to my dad, who had some wise words for me. So the guy I'm going to go for is Cuzzy. Just because he was the toughest thing that was out there at that time from that. I wish he'd played longer, and I think he could have, but maybe the more modern 9s coming in would have sorted that out anyway in a natural selection basis. But I'm going to go for Cuzzy. Standoffs. So nearly everybody has gone for Quinny, and I understand why. I gave my reasons of what the players will come in. I played one and a bit seasons, I think, with Quinny, and Quinny definitely was the best 10 I think that's been at the club for a long time, if not ever, and he's gone on to be an absolute fantastic servant to the club, and he brought another dynamic to the back line, which was great, and continues to do so. So, you know, he's obviously one that came into the fold. He was from outside, clearly, and he came from New Zealand and had some great seasons with us. And in terms of that, people I played with most at the start, Steve McKenzie. Steve was probably a more natural winger, but 10 was where he kind of ended up for the club playing when I was there. Just one of these pretty unique kind of athletes, probably too athletic because his hamstrings, all those athletes tend to have hamstrings that go all the time. Stevie, probably in terms of the quickest injury I've ever seen, or maybe that's ever been, Stevie pulled his hamstring kicking the game off. So we played the game there without him. I can't remember who that was against, but I just remember how quick it was. It was pretty ridiculous in terms of that. Great passer, fantastic boot, and great pace from there. Other guys that played little bit parts, and played for the first, who were very talented: Greg Mason, Sandy Robertson. Probably two of the only people that I've met as standoffs who could kick equally well off both feet. I think both of them could place kick. Greg was maybe the better, I think, but Sandy was definitely there. Could place kick with both feet as well. Sandy was a product of Edinburgh Academy. He was there. He lived in Kirkcaldy, obviously. And I do remember we set up a game when we were a strong Colts side, and we went over to Edinburgh and played them there. Tom White was the coach at the time. And the referee, let's say, was slightly one-eyed and one-armed. He was one of their teachers. It was a tough day. I think we lost something like, I don't know, 9-3 or 9-6. I can't remember what it was. Tam was sent out the field because he was so irate. But we've had a long-standing relationship with the Ackies and stuff since then. And we went on to play them in the league, and when we got up there and had victories then, so it was payback time there. Greg Mason. Greg came to us from Dunfermline, I think it was. Talented little footballer, and again, he was one to be contended with. I guess the guy I played a lot with, Keith Ferguson, the Doc, and he's probably the one that sits in my memory most. And again, I told you I'd go with some things that might just be in my head or my heart, or with a bit of stats or whatever like that. Keith was around for a long time, and Keith brought that old school swing of the hips pass, which was always good to watch. He had a great break, great boot. He ran the line really well, and he was there for a good lot of years with us. So lots of greatness in there. And I guess just with my kind of memories and acquaintance in terms of that for me, who helped us through those kind of times, I'm going to put Keith Ferguson in there. I did genuinely like playing with Keith. I love playing with them all. They were all great players and great people. And I'm just going to throw it out to Keith on this occasion. Right, keep going with the backs. Sorry for keeping looking at me, but that's where my notes are written. Wingers, gee whiz, we've had all sorts of stuff, wingers-wise, that could get on the sheet. Anything from boys from T Hall to boys from Japan. Some of us will remember Iki, I think he was his name, came from Japan, had played for Japan Sevens and stuff. Ended up in Kirkcaldy. Don't ask me how, but he did. And I always remember arriving at training, and I think I was maybe coaching at the time, and the boys were already out there, and I saw they announced that Mickey had arrived, and I got out there and I saw that he was in the unfortunate company of the front row. So there was Wally Anderson, Stuarty Brown, and Danny Harrington. And I thought, I better go and save him from that lot. So I wandered over and I introduced myself, and I said, right, I said, come on then. I said, time for training. I said, so, catch ball, run with ball, pass ball, catch ball, run with ball, pass ball, like that. And Willie Anderson turned around to me and he said, Hendo, he said, he says, he speaks perfectly good English. I says, I wasn't talking to him, Willie. I says, I was talking to you three. Hopefully I'll get a couple of giggles. But he was a talented player. Wasn't with us very long. I think it was only a season, in fact, or maybe not even a whole season. And he got there. But yeah, back to T Hall, and I guess Jimmy Bonner, John McDuff, Steve Merritt was in there. I remember Steve, the Ginger Flyer. Johnny Jardine. I mean, how quick was Johnny Jardine? An absolute flying machine on the wing, and a real finisher. John McSpluff, Twinkle Toes McSpluff, he used to have some proper dance moves to get round people. And John had an innate skill of doing that. Wasn't particularly fast, top end, really didn't have any kind of sidestep or anything on him, but he had a way of moving that just put him over the white line, which was great. Other guys on the other wing, I suppose, other guys that come to mind, Neil Renton, gee whiz, what a finisher he was. Neil had a proper triple step, natural triple step, which I don't know if that came from all his years spent up at Kirkcaldy Ice Rink skating up there or whatever, but he was a definite finisher on the wing from those days. Jungle Jock, gee whiz, John Mitchell. John played in quite a few positions and was equally at home in lots of them. And again, all the guys there, I'm pretty sure John McDuff was in that first year that we played. It was the Sports Shop Trophy. We played Dunfermline in the final at West of Scotland. If that rings any bells, I might have that wrong, but we won that. And I'm sure John was around then. Johnny Jardine, obviously not a product of Kirkcaldy, he was from up kind of a Drass end. Neil Renton obviously was a Kirkcaldy guy, and again played some rep rugby and played that famous victory at McDermott Park against Samoa for Northern Midlands. I think he scored a hat-trick that night. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It really put him on the map after that. So who would I go to with that? Well, I'm going to go to war. I'm always taking JB. So Jimmy Bonner, you're going to be in that left wing, coming off your left wing, just with that low centre of gravity that you had, that just 100% attitude all the time. And I guess even though you went there early doors, but that wasn't probably your fault, just didn't have that opportunity or didn't see the talent you had. But looking at the service afterwards and stuff, definitely in there, being a great player, a great person, and a great club guy. On the other wing, really hard, very difficult in terms of putting where Jungle would end up, because I could put him in other places, which might actually happen after this. But I think I need to put him in because he was there for a long time. He was another guy that stayed at the club, and again that shows, in my eyes, another form of greatness from that. So 14 is going to be John Fatima Mitchell. That's another story involving a pitch side flag. Those of you that know it, it's quite funny. If you don't, ask somebody at the club. I'm sure they'll take great delight in enlightening you where they got John Fatima Mitchell from. Fullback. We'll go fullback before we come to the centres, because the centres one was equally hard. So 15. Again, started out with Dave Foster at the back. I can remember that pretty tough day up at Morgan. Dave got his jaw broken. This might be myth, but I'm pretty sure in my head, but again, ask John Medvin or ask Dave, he'll confirm it. I'm pretty sure he played on. I remember I had to drive his car back. He had a really nice car as well. I was just a young lad, so it was a nice ride home. But Dave maybe didn't have all the bits that you want in a player in terms of athletic ability. He wasn't the quickest, and he'll be the first to tell you that. Sidestep wise, again, if you're not quick, it's very difficult to have a sidestep. Good passer of the ball, though, solid passer. Didn't have a massive boot on him, but what he did have was a fantastic ability to read the game and to read where players were going, and he could make that distance. He could cut it in half just by using that, which is not a thing that's used too much on a rugby field sometimes. But no, Dave, brave as a lion, very courageous guy, great under a high ball, and just a guy that was solid at the back, and you knew if it got there, you would keep him there. Other guys that played there, a name that came in, and I don't know if I've got this right, he was a New Zealander, again, young lad, who, and for some reason in my head, really impressed me as a player. Hayden Meredith, again, cue the Oracle, Jock Medvin. John hopefully will maybe remember this and put a comment up. But I just remember him just being a really classy player, and he played fullback for what I remember. Wasn't here long though, so that's why maybe the memory is a little bit shady on that. Other guys, class acts, again came in. Another guy that came in from Dundee High School, Chris Milne. And Chris was a class act. Played Scottish schools and stuff, played loads of rep rugby, played with Dundee when they were kind of a force to be reckoned with, and then came down to Beveridge Park when we had the ascendancy. And again, terrific player, lovely bloke, and yeah, was involved in the Sevens, I think, when we went down to Melrose. And one of the key guys in that side as well. Other guys who, well, Henry Murray, the Doc, again, probably still can't touch his toes. The stickiest, one of the quickest, stickiest players I've ever met in my life. Fantastic coming into the line, and you always had that image of Henry's hair bouncing because of the speed and the force he was hitting the ground at, coming through into a space. Very clever player, very safe. Again, another guy that originated, I think, from Dunfermline, then went to Heriots, played in some Scotland B stuff at that time, I think it would be, and then made his way to Beveridge Park and set up home in Kirkcaldy, and still to this day is in Kirkcaldy, and again a great guy to have at the back. So there's the fullbacks, and who am I going to go for there? I think in terms of, again, I'm looking at service and what everybody kind of lent, and just his ability to strike up a song. So Alouetta, Jonty Alouetta, how I love your great big nose, is going to be Dave Alouetta Foster at fullback for me. Okay, hope this isn't taking too long. The centres this was probably the hardest one for me, really difficult. We had some great guys, because even guys like Jungle could play in the centre. Neil Renton, I think, would have made a fantastic centre at 13. We had some young boys that came through, again, from the Colts, that didn't have that kind of longevity that we had from lots of players. Who can remember Jack Smith? I just thought he was a fabulous talent. And played some rep rugby, played Colts rugby, came through that system again. And for me, Jack could have had a long career with the club. But probably, again, because he was that good, he would be snapped up and he would end up going somewhere else. The Thompson twins, not twins obviously, but John Thompson and Willie Thompson, they played, I can remember 2 or 3 matches where we played with them in the centres as a pairing, maybe through trying different things or unavailabilities, injuries or whatever it was. So that'd be quite a great thing for them to do. And again, 2 very different players. in the same family, but very different in terms of that, but talented nonetheless. And John had a little time away from the club in Rackies again, but again came back to the club, was a product of the Colts system, and came through and gave lots of great service to the club. Well, I gave up probably just a bit too young, but again, work as a PE teacher took him at different places, so whatever his reasons were, that Willie will know better from that. But again, good partnership in terms of that. With loads of other guys that came through the Colts system that played there, Benny Bremner, Alan Fraser, who's other ones? There was one more on the tip of my tongue. Can't remember. The best pairing that I saw would come from what I basically hold as the best team I played in at Kirkcaldy. And that best pairing was Alec Carruthers and Alan Robb. The two people who complemented each other probably the best in terms of that, and came through. Alec again in the centre, very, very formidable in terms of, and equally comfortable, I think, at fullback for lots of other reasons of his ability to read a game, his intelligence on the field. And again, maybe Alec wasn't the quickest top-end guy, but got to places early because he knew the line, whether it be an attack or defence, that he would get the reward. Solid passer, had the goalie throw the ball up and boot it, but like Tony Jacklin was, I suppose, or sorry, Lee Trevino, it might have been, a fairly different swing to everybody else, but it didn't matter. The connection was where he needed it, and it would go. So yeah, lots of guys in there, but I guess the pairing that kind of come for me in terms of that are Alec and JT, and they were the kind of solid pairing from a long time through in terms of that. And you always knew that in attack they would find holes, and in defence pretty much nothing got through them. So that's them in terms of that. So as a bench, I've probably mentioned too many there. So other mentions for me though, and again this was with my dad the other day. We were just having a chat about it, saying I was coming on to do this, and it was to the number 10 spot, and that was Hugh Ryan, best left peg I've ever seen. And at that final in 1980-81 at Murrayfield, one of the main reasons was the height that he put on that ball, and when he came on, that poor little bugger Gary Parker who had to contend with Alec, we just kept putting the ball in the air, and when he caught it, he got the full flipping brunt of Eck hitting him. And again, not a guy that stayed at the club, but he certainly would have a great career at the club. Sadly no longer with us from there. Now, that's mine in terms of that. It's not easy trying to remember things at my age, but those are guys that have left memories and stories that I can recall with me, and I think that's what a club's about. It's what leaves inside you. The stories that you remember were clearly the ones that influenced you most. But to everybody that I played with, just a heartfelt thanks for all the energy, for all the enthusiasm, for all the effort that was put in over the time I was there. Other things I want to mention, because everybody went on to mention coaches and stuff like that. There was one name that was up there, was Terry, and definitely Terry definitely benefited from maybe many that went before him. And guys that I can remember, gee, it's such a long period. Guys that really made differences. Gil Stevenson, John Somerville, Dick West was there for a while. Who else? Ian Rankin, yeah. Brian Dyack. So I remember had to take the coaching over. Brian became a wee bit kind of ill there, and we took that over. But lots of people have gone before us. TT was there a long time. I guess the guy that really started the whole ball rolling was Tam White. And Ron, and I suppose before him, Stuart Sim. These were the guys that really started to put the wheels in motion for me, and a lot of that maybe unsung, and other people benefit from it, but they do a fantastic amount of work, as Terry did, and really steered us through some great moments. But those two greatest teams I played for, both Colts sides, and then subsequently the two promoted sides from Division 3 up to Division 2, and then Division 2 eventually into Premiership 1. So, yeah, Tam White, followed ably by TT, and from that. Now, I can go and do this without maybe expanding things slightly, being a bit selfish, but I think we should maybe note some other people within the club that did great work. Best barman, the guy that was always there through the best years going, Sonny Lato. Gee whiz, what a guy. Loads of great bar people and bar staff that we had. I mean, they were all fantastic, but Sonny Lato growing up there was he was my go-to guy. He was there forever in terms of that. Other people, Sunday mornings as an under-16 coming to the club, Bill Clark and Jim Finney would be there on a Sunday morning with a wee half pint and sit and count the money out the puggy. Jim with his pipe, and Bill normally just with his drink, and all the change would be lying on it. Just a memory that I have that makes the club what it is. Even things like the scoreboard gang, Jack Christie's mob, Raymond Mann and Ken Nimmo and Charlie Oliver and boys like that, they were always in the same place. And those were things, even though it was repetition, you just knew you were at the club because of those people. Somebody said you should mention something about the best physio, but I can't think of one from that. So I'll maybe leave everybody else to decide that. But the best physical trainer we had, Sammy Wilson. Boy, did he get us in good nick. He kept us competitive. He kept it different, and it was something that was needed in those days. So to all those people, a big thank you. To everybody at the club now, keep doing what you're doing. I love reading about the club. The social media keeps you in touch. I don't get to the club as much as I would want to, but that's just work with me. I work on a Saturday, and as much as that was probably why my dad didn't see a lot of rugby in the early years, because he worked 6 days a week, but it was great when he came to do the job at the club that he could be part of the club, and he thoroughly enjoyed his time there. So to all the supporters, to all the people, no matter what you do, if all it is putting the cups out for coffee for people, or you're coaching the firsts, or you're a player, thanks for listening, and I hope I see you at the club very soon. Okay, thanks everybody.